back and forth, and the Zurich Classic goes to sudden death with a cruel twist for the runner-up. Fourth down starts right now.
This is the last word on sports. Fourth down on 4 starts now.
The weight means you were also drafted with the exact same number as your dad, who was a Super Bowl winning wide receiver for the Giants. And he sent me an email, and I just want to read you a little bit. He says, "Son, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for being a great person and accomplishing your dream of being drafted and having the opportunity to play professional football. You have made me a proud father. I am so proud of the young man you have become. What would you like to say to your dad?"
I want to tell my dad that I love him. I miss you, dog. You've been a positive influence on my life for my whole entire life. So I just want to thank you and let you know that I love you, man, and we did it.
Welcome into fourth down. It was an emotional night for Saints first-round pick Mark Ingram. His tears, a combination of both joy and heartache, as his father still sits incarcerated in a federal prison. The younger Ingram is now the conversation piece of the Saints' 2011 draft class in more ways than one. His arrival puts the future of Reggie Bush in the spotlight as well. You've heard the numbers. He's owed in excess of $11 million next season. A renegotiated salary is one option. Jim Henderson has another one.
There is a growing belief the Saints could part ways with Reggie Bush. There is a growing belief they would part ways with Reggie Bush. The belief here is that they should part ways with Reggie Bush. He's been in the NFL for 5 seasons and has only been healthy enough to appear in all 16 games in his first. Is he going to get healthier and stay healthier now and hereafter? In too many big games, he has had too little impact. The wild card playoff game loss to Seattle was too typical of his disappearance. With the team decimated at running back, he gains 12 yards on 5 carries. He catches 5 passes for 37 yards with a crucial drop where it should have been a touchdown early. He leaves the game before its end with yet another injury. Like an aging stripper on Bourbon Street long ago, he teases you with glimpses of his talents, but he never fully delivers what your customers want to see. For every one play that makes you exclaim, "Who else could do that?" there are 10 others that make you lament, "Who else couldn't do that?" Last season, he failed to score a single rushing touchdown. 100 runners in the NFL scored more. He scored 1 touchdown as a receiver. 150 receivers in the NFL scored more. He failed to score a touchdown as a punt returner. 10 punt returners in the NFL scored more. He averaged 6.6 yards per return. 51 punt returners in the NFL averaged more. His longest run of the season was 23 yards. His longest reception was 20. His run was the 3rd longest on the team. His reception was the 10th longest on the team. We are constantly told of his value to the Saints offense as a decoy. If you're sitting in a duck blind, what's of more value to you? A decoy or a reliable Labrador that shows up every day to hunt? If I'm the Saints, I lowball Reggie Bush to bring him back on a renegotiated contract. When he goes elsewhere for more, as he will, you can say, "We wanted to keep him in the worst way, but just couldn't match the offer." Leave it to others to discover how great the disparity was between the two. Don't worry about one day's worth of criticism afterward over his selection as the 2nd pick of the draft and this regime's first. That was 5 years ago. You have proven your worth as a sound evaluator of talent on countless other occasions since. You don't have to defend him as a bust. He never was. He just was never the boom that you, he, and we all expected. Jim Henderson, 4th down on 4.
The Saints with 6 selections in this year's draft. 5 of those were defensive players. The Saints doubling up in rounds 1, 3, and 7, landing a pair of pass rushers and a pair of linebackers. Ingram, the lone offensive player selected by the Saints this year. We welcome in Brian allee-walsh. He covers the Saints for the NewOrleans.com. We appreciate you coming down. So you and I talked about this on Thursday. It was kind of funny. You said if the Saints go with a running back in the 1st round, I'll be interested to see what happens to Reggie Bush. What's going to happen to Reggie Bush now?
That's the $64 million question, Codes. You know, as Sean Payton started talking about and expressing interest in Ingram, maybe 6-7 weeks ago when the speculated started building, you start wondering if they do pick up Mark Ingram, the consensus #1 running back in the draft, what are they going to do with not only Reggie Bush, but Pierre Thomas, who just signed contract before the lockout, and then you've got Chris Ivory coming off a major injury, and Lionel Hamilton. So you've got a lot of touches that have to be shared by a bunch of backs right now.
Do you think Reggie, he's obviously going to have to back off the 11 and change that he's going to get?
Well, that was a given, though.
Yeah, but how much does he want to go down? Because he puts the Twitter out that, you know, had fun New Orleans. What did you make of that?
Well, I bet he'd like to have that one back. You know, I don't think that was a smart move, really. You don't need to tweet those kind of feelings, even if you feel that way, because one, he doesn't really explain himself to anyone, so he kind of leaves it out there, leaves everyone to imagine or try to come up with their own summation for what he said. But I would say he's at 11-8. You know, he's going to have to come down at least $8 to $9 million, I would think, yeah. $7, $8, $9 million. And the interesting thing here, Codes, is that, you know, he's represented by Joel Siegel, who also represents Mark Ingram. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic there as the weeks and months develop.
Top pick for the Saints, Cameron Jordan, a guy pretty versatile on both the 3-4 and the 4-3. You know, Greg Williams has to like him. But my question to you, who's looking over their shoulder more right now? Will Smith, who's going to serve that 4-game suspension more than likely, or Alex Brown?
I would say Alex Brown right off the bat, because they even said the other day after the selection that they would pencil him in at left defensive end, which is where Alex plays. But you know the way Greg Williams plays is, guys, they play a lot of different fronts. They play a lot of different looks out of their front seven. He could play inside and outside, and they're going to rotate, so they're all going to get their plays, so to speak. But they're going to start him at left defensive end.
Then they went linebacker out of Illinois with Martez Wilson, rather.
Yeah.
A lot of people comparing him to Scott Fujita, not as tall. Do you see him making that move? And if so, does that allow Scott Shanley to move back to where he's naturally over in the weak side?
Provided they bring back Scott Shanley. You know, Martez played inside with Illinois, but they're going to play him at strong, which was Fujita's spot. And remember, they got Jonathan Casillas coming back too. So
from an injury as well.
From an injury.
Yeah.
So I think they like that youth there too. And remember, Martez and guys like Nate Bussey and the other gentleman, Romeus, yeah. Greg Romeus. These are all projects and guys that I say they're all guys that can help special teams as well, which was very critical in their draft. They wanted to upgrade special teams big time with some guys that can play at depth.
Do you think that maybe Wilson slid a little bit, and what caused him to? Because it looks like he had second, first-round
Absolutely. Talent. A lot of the draft books and nicks draft nicks that I saw and everything, that he was a late first I saw in one, and a second and third. So, you know, I think it's a good value pick, certainly for the Saints. And it does. A lot of these guys, this is good. Defense. It fills a lot of needs for them.
Yeah. Well, 29 Saints players, when the NFL actually gets back to business, will be free agents. And so the word now is what happens to those guys. League rules will dictate which of those will be restricted or unrestricted, but still, negotiations will have to begin fast and furiously once something is actually worked out. It's a process the Saints have usually tried to wrap up before the draft so as to be in a position to take the, quote, best player available in the draft. The NFL labor situation, though, making that more difficult, but Mickey Loomis insists there is a contingency plan.
It always seems a little bit daunting if you try to think of it in that terms, but when you just boil it down to which guys does the guy want to come back to New Orleans? Do we want him back? When you start thinking about it on an individual basis, it doesn't seem nearly as daunting to me.
Still chatting with Brian allee-walsh from NewOrleans.com. So let's look at some of these free agents, 29 of them, that's quite a bit. Let's assume that there's really no tags right now on all of them. Who do you think is priority one, priority two for the Saints as they address that issue?
Well, based on the guys that they tendered prior to the decertification and lockout, they signed Pierre Thomas, they signed Garrett Hartley, Sean Rogers, they brought in Rogers, right. Those guys that still remain tendered and guys I know of interest are certainly Roman Harper and Jermon Bushrod. Carl Nix is there. Guys like that, Usama, Young, guys like that. And I'd say if you had to pick two guys, it would be Jermon Bushrod at left tackle and Roman Harper at strong safety. I would say those two guys are all part of the core nucleus that they want to keep intact.
I think you'd believe that they want to keep everyone, but who are they going to say, hey, pleasure having you here?
Well, it just depends because it's so different. I would say Darren Sharper is certainly one of those guys that, it's been nice having you. But if this thing drags on, Darren Sharper's a guy that they might want to bring back in
Because he can get right back in.
Yeah, because he knows everything.
Like Heath Evans, though. Is he?
Sure. Heath Evans is another good example.
And I think Heath kind of understands, look, I'm kind of at the end here.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a startup team, and I don't think if he can get the right deal, maybe he walks, and maybe the Saints throw some money at him, and he decides to stay because of that situation.
Absolutely, those are the veterans that can benefit from a longer lockout type of situation or a longer situation where they can't get their team together. But Scott Shanley is a guy that he's a Sean Payton guy. He brought him in from Dallas, and I'm not certainly trying to write Scott out of the equation. But they've brought in some linebackers here, and if they do bring him back, he's going to have to earn a spot naturally.
Well, this might be one of the last times in quite a while we actually get to talk about on-the-field stuff, so I appreciate you spending it with me.
Absolutely,
Brian,
thank you, buddy.
Read his stuff at NewOrleans.com. Stay with us. Much more Fourth Down after the break. Coming up, a roller coaster season ends for the overachieving Hornets. We go back and forth on the futures of 3 B starters. And later, one of the PGA's monsters off the tee survives 2 playoff holes to claim the trophy at the Zurich Classic.
Practical